Node.js is a runtime environment for executing JavaScript code. If you remember in our JavaScript class, I mentioned that JavaScript runs in the browser. Without a browser, you cannot run JavaScript code. So those of us who have a bit of knowledge in other languages, before you write those, you program in those languages, you have to install some stuff. So Python, for instance, you have to download it from their site, or PHP, or other languages. You have to install them on your machine. When you do that, it gives you an environment where you can write code, and when you write it that way, that thing you installed, I'll say 10 for now, that thing you installed will take your code from your editor and then compile it and bring you back the results. Okay. With JavaScript, there was nothing like that. You have to open the browser because the engine is in the browser. That thing that will process your code for you is built in the browser, and that is why you can only run JavaScript in the browser. And that thing we call engine. So like the JavaScript engine, it picks your code and runs for you. Okay, it was inside the browser, and that is why you can only write or execute JavaScript code in the browser. Okay, so as at before 2009, the only environment for us to run a JavaScript code was the browser. Inside the browser, that was the only environment. But there was this programmer, Ralph and something. He just sat down and he thought, JavaScript can do more. It should be able to execute even without the browser. So he thought of it, and then he sat down, and all the browsers have different JavaScript engines. In other words, I would say compiler, okay, or interpreter, something that understands the JavaScript code you've written. So when you open Mozilla Firefox, it has a JavaScript engine called SpiderMonkey. That's the name of the engine Mozilla Firefox uses. When you open Chrome, it uses the V8 engine. So that's the JavaScript engine in Chrome, V8. Microsoft Edge uses Chakra. Okay, it uses Chakra as its engine. Recently, they are moving towards Chromium. That's the V8 engine. So when you open your Microsoft Edge, you'll see you have the Chrome tools and other stuff there. But traditionally, they built that using the Chakra V8 Chakra engine. Okay, there are a lot of them. So different browsers use different JavaScript engine, and that is why some JavaScript code you run on Chrome, it will execute in a different way. That same line of code, when you run on Mozilla, you get the output might be different from that of either Microsoft Edge or, yeah. So they are different. They all use different engines. Okay. So back to Node. So this programmer called Ralph Dahl, he sat down and said, I think I can do something. So he sat down and he monitored all these engines that I've mentioned, Chakra, SpiderMonkey, V8. Then he realized that the Chrome engine, that V8, is faster compared to the other two, or compared to the rest of the JavaScript engines available. So he said, okay. Then he picked that engine, the V8 engine, and then embedded it in a C++ program, and then he called it Node. So Node is a combination of the V8 engine and then a C++ program. Mind you, the V8 engine itself was built with C++. It was built on C++. So Ravindal said, okay, then I'll pick V8 engine, add some bunch of C++ code, and then we had Node.js. So Node.js is a runtime environment. So I'll say Node.js is the brother or is a sibling to the browser. Okay, so instead of running your JavaScript code in the browser, you now have an option to run it outside the browser. So you see Node.js as JavaScript released from prison. Okay, it has been released from the shackles of the browser. Any question up to this point? I was saying that you hear people compare Node.js to other languages like Java and PHP. Fundamentally, that is wrong. You can't do that. Okay, Node.js is not a language. You can compare JavaScript to Python. You can compare JavaScript to PHP to Java, but you cannot compare. So if you do that, it's like you're comparing a car to an apple or a fruit. Like they are not related in any way. Node.js is a runtime environment. JavaScript is the language. Also, let us not confuse Node.js with framework. Node.js is not a framework. So I also hear people compare Node.js to ASP.NET. You see them comparing that to Laravel, comparing it to Spring Boot. No, Node.js is not a framework. It is a runtime environment. So you can't compare that Node.js to any other framework. Okay. So yeah, it's a runtime environment for executing JavaScript code. Up to this point, do you have any question?